Hello again, everyone. I'm Bob Varsha. In the words of the biblical verse that became the lyric of a popular hit in the 60s, to everything there is a season, a time to break down and a time to build up. Faced with the end of factory involvement in international sports car racing from Porsche, Nissan, Jaguar, and Mazda at the end of 1992, and the loss of longtime sponsor Camel at the end of the 93 season, officials of the International Motorsports Association decided it was indeed time to break down in order to build up. What they came up with was a totally new formula for sports car racing, world sports cars, open-top machines that harken back to the days of the Porsches and Ferraris, Renaults and Matras that were a part of the golden age of the World Sports Car Championship. On board in 1994 will be a new sponsor as well, Exxon. But all of that is the stuff of next year's review show. In the next half hour, we'll take a look at the 1993 season, dominated by the last factory heavyweight in prototype sports car racing, Toyota, and its two second-generation driving stars, P.J. Jones and Juan Fangio, who battled for the championship right down to the last race of the season. We'll find out what lies in their future, and we'll take a look ahead to what world sports cars will mean to IMSA racing in '94. Welcome back to our review of the 1993 IMSA season. While several economically challenged races fell by the wayside in the season past, the high banks here at Atlanta Motor Speedway were a welcome addition to the IMSA calendar. You see, speedways have always been a part of IMSA lore, beginning with the annual season opener at Daytona Beach, Florida, one of the all-time great sports car classics, the Rolex 24 Hours of Daytona. A pair of Toyotas driven by P.J. Jones and Juan Fangio led a 60-car field to the green flag in this twice-around-the-clock survival test. Setting the standard for the season to come, there were no team orders from All-American Racers founder Dan Gurney. Reigning champion Fangio passed pole sitter Jones on lap 1 to take the lead. 90 minutes later, Jones returned the favor. Into the nighttime hours, the normally aspirated Jaguar, driven by Davy Jones and IndyCar regulars Scott Pruitt and Scott Goodyear, emerged to battle Jones and his co-drivers, Rocky Moran and Mark Dismore, until gearbox problems sent both cars to the pits for extended repair. Both returned, but when the Big Cat's ninth life was lost to engine problems, the Toyota trio of Jones, Moran, and Dismore claimed the season's first checkered flag.
It was an emotional roller coaster through the morning. I mean, 1 minute we were down 20 laps, next minute we were up, next minute we were down 3.
From Daytona, the series moved to the streets of Miami, where Toyotas again filled the front row. This time, Jones passed Fangio for the early lead, while behind them, Jeff Andretti had a tough time in his first race following injuries suffered 10 months earlier at Indianapolis. Jones and Fangio put on a great show in the hour 45-minute sprint, exchanging the lead back and forth with all the delicacy of a bar fight. When a refueling glitch delayed Fangio's number 99 in the pits, Jones was handed a safe lead. Then, with just 5 laps to go, Jones was in for an extra splash, victimized by a faulty fuel pickup of his own. As quickly as he had lost it, Fangio regained his first win of the season, and Toyota surpassed rival Nissan's IMSA record with their 9th in a row.
We have two big goals, and one was to win Daytona, the other one was to win the Miami Toyota Grand Prix, and finally we did. We did the 1-2. I mean, very happy. I saw that, I let him go. I mean, it was possible to me to play a little bit, but I didn't want to put him in a bad position over there. I mean, he took a big chance over there, and I accepted because he was another Toyota.
When the teams returned to endurance mode for the 12 hours of Sebring, umbrellas were the order of the day. Heavy rains forced the first red flag in the 41-year history of the event, and barely half the race was run under green. But there was no catching the Toyota driven by Fangio and Englishman Andy Wallace, who triumphed for the 2nd year in a row, joining legends Phil Hill, Olivier Gendebien, and Juan's uncle Juan Manuel Fangio as the only drivers with back-to-back Sebring wins. Despite new rules designed to slow them down, the Toyotas were awesome as ever in Atlanta. The Porsche of Le Mans winner Manuel Reuter was able to keep Fangio behind in the early stages, but the champion finally managed to squeeze by the German and set out after his teammate. When he caught him, the two went door-to-door, through and over the infield, Fangio eventually emerging from a terrific dice in traffic with the lead. Later, both Toyotas were obliged to avoid the spinning machine of Canadian Neil Jameson. In the end, Fangio edged Jones by just 7 seconds for his 3rd straight win, his team's 11th.
I saw PJ really ready for a race, and I knew that it was necessary to try very hard. So the guys did in the pit stop. They reset the tires, and the second set of tires and the third set of tires was really good. So I was trying to take advantage of that, and I tried to do everything I could to came back to the lead. So I'm very happy and very grateful to TRD and North American Racing and Toyota.
Fangio ran his streak to 4 in the traditional Memorial Day stop at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. Traffic is also a tradition at Lime Rock, and the smaller car usually loses, as Bob Earl learned to his detriment when he and Fangio made contact. Once again, P.J. Jones took pole, but fell behind in the tough conditions. Adding insult to injury, Jones spun off on the next-to-last lap. And though he watched from the tires as Fangio took the checkered flag, his runner-up finish kept P.J. atop the points.
I mean, two were racing just as hard as they raced yesterday at Indy.
Mid-Ohio in June showcased a tightening points race between teammates P.J. Jones and Juan Fangio. And when a mysterious Miami-like fuel pickup problem brought Jones in for a pair of extra pit stops, that race for the driving championship became deadlocked. Fangio cruised to his 5th win in a row over Jones with the Nissan of Gianpiero Moretti and Derek Bell 3rd. It was the first victory for the Toyota team at the Central Ohio Circuit, their 13th in a row overall. At Watkins Glen, New York, Juan Fangio won his 6th race in as many starts for Toyota, solidifying his grip on the Drivers' Championship. But he would not make it 7 in the next race, as the All-American Racers team chose to sit out the event at Road America in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. The race offered an opportunity for a last hurrah for one of the great names in IMSA racing. The field had a distinctive look at Road America, featuring 43 cars in 7 classes. The number 7 Yost Racing Porsche, driven by Manuel Reuter, sat on pole, with Wayne Taylor's Chevy GTP alongside. Gianpiero Moretti's golden opportunity to make up ground on the Toyota teammates for the championship expired with his Nissan's engine, followed shortly after by the luckless Taylor. In the end, Reuter and John Winter led a soloing John Paul Jr. to the flag in the team's 2nd car. It was the first GTP win in more than 2 seasons for the Porsche 962. It would also be the last.
Good for Porsche, and I think we're not on the way back at least, but this is an 11-year-old chassis, but I think the car is still working very good and very reliable, so we had a good race, and I think at least the last 2 stints we had an easy race.
The Toyotas were back with full effect at Laguna Seca, where Juan Fangio's 20-point lead for the Camel GT Championship left P.J. Jones with a long, hard road ahead.
Well, you know, he's going to have to have a little bit of bad luck for me to catch him, and we're going to have some good luck. So we have 2 races left. You never know what can happen.
I think we have a long way to go. We have all right now qualifying. We have the call, but it's a long race, so too many things can happen. I really want to try hard to finish this race and do the best job I can.
Fangio grabbed pole and moved into the early lead, but this race was won in the pits. Jones stopped under an early caution flag, while Fangio stayed out. That move put Jones in control when his teammate pitted later in the race. And when Fangio broke a half shaft on the final lap, Jones was home with his 2nd win of the year, clinching Toyota's 2nd straight IMSA Manufacturers Championship and making the driver's title a 2-horse race among the Toyota teammates. At Portland, the site of the first win for the Toyota Eagle in 1991, the race was again won on pit strategy. Jones led until the first round of stops when Fangio beat him to the pit exit to take over the lead. Back from a 5-month layoff, David Tennyson drove a strong race in his Chevy Spice, but first in the non-Toyota class was the best he could hope for. Once out front, Fangio had a close moment trying to pass Jim Downing. When it came time for more tires and fuel, the 99 crew again got the job done just a bit quicker. Fangio took the lead and held it to the finish for his 21st career victory, all but clinching the defense of his IMSA title. At Phoenix, in IMSA's first ever all-night race, both Toyotas went all out to close the prototype era in style. There was also the matter of the championship to settle, and all Fangio needed was to lead a single lap to make it happen. Finally, Fangio got the break he needed and swept by to clinch his championship. Ironically, Fangio then suffered through a long pit stop that put him 2 laps down. That was nothing compared to the fire aboard the Gunner Racing Porsche that forced John Paul Jr. to bail out. At the flag, Jones had his third win of the season, giving him the runner-up spot in the title chase for the second year in a row in a slam-bang Camel GT finale typical of the All-American Racers Toyota team.
Well, you know, we got to pushing and shoving early in the race, and I think he was a little pissed off or something, so I think he wanted to, you know, I got mad after that, and I was going after him. They kept reminding me, well, hey, remember you're leading, so, you know, it's just one of those family feud type things, but everything's all right. So.
And so Juan Fangio became the 5th driver in IMSA history to repeat as champion.
Everything is tough in life. If you want success, I think you need to work very hard and you need to be ready for that. The second year, we won already in the last half part of the season 4 races, and then we came back to do new changes for the following year, and so for more than half a year we were still doing some development, but again at the end we came back to win 3 races. So I think everything really paid off very quick if you think about the very strong competition we had at that moment between the Nissan and the Jaguars and the Chevrolets and the Porsches. I mean, it was a very close series. IMSA gave me a lot of great moments. And who knows, maybe I came back to do the long distance races. You never know. And but being on the series or being in another series, I want for IMSA the best because I receive a lot from them.
It was another spectacular season in Camel Lights for the Comtech Acura team and Parker Johnstone, winning 7 of the 11 races. After a slow start in Daytona, where they finished 9th, the Acura Spice crew won 5 in a row until a 7th place at Watkins Glen broke the streak. During that run came the team's first victory at Sebring.
It's just a fairy tale race for us. The car ran perfectly the whole time. We're overwhelmed. I mean, this is great. This is probably the best victory that Comtech's ever had.
Johnstone is now a 3-time Camel Lights champion, and he has made each victory look easy.
No matter what it looks like from the outside, from pole positions, fastest laps, or race wins, it's never easy. And the reason that a team like Comtech Racing Team does so well with its Acura affiliation is if we're on the pole by a half a second, we want to be on the pole by a second and a half. If we're on the pole by a second and a half, we want to do it by 3 seconds. We don't want to win by a second, we want to win by a lap, or 2 laps, or 3 laps. And so the pressure is always there. I feel very fortunate that I've spent my last 8 years of my racing career with the Comtech Racing Team, and our association with American Honda and Acura, moving through the different ranks of IMSA, has proved a very great learning experience, not only on the track but off the track. And what I think that the basis of my knowledge as a race car driver has improved simply because I've been able to work with the same group of people.
With all the wins and records and nothing left for Johnstone and the Comtech Acura Spice team to prove, what will the champion do next?
Looking at all the possibilities where our team can go and show its stuff, which it's worked so hard for so many years to hone. And as a driver, if they want me to drive shopping carts next year, well, I'll be there pushing that shopping cart as hard as I can for them. So the Comtech team is evaluating all its options, and hopefully it'll find us in a very competitive situation next year.
When the books closed on the 1993 IMSA season, they closed as well on the prototype era in sports car racing and on the Camel GT. With a new sponsor in Exxon, IMSA's looking ahead to 1994. But what about the actual participants in the series? What do they see in the season to come? Well, we try to answer that question and much more in this preview of IMSA 1994.
You need to be ready for changes in motor racing, and right now you can see changes all around the world. If you look at Formula One, you can see a lot of changes also trying to make the cost lower and trying to bring the competition back, because what happened, very few teams have the chance to have everything they need to be at the front, and then it's a little tougher for the others. So I think it's necessary right now to have a change.
It's going to be fun. It's going to have open tops. You're going to be able to see the spectators, the other cars, see the roads, the apexes, Things you can't do in these coupes.
IMSA's new World Sports Car Formula will feature open cockpit machines, such as the offering from Riley and Scott of Indianapolis. Technical rules will be common with the 24 Hours of Le Mans machines, which should leave opportunities open for many participants, especially with sports car racing virtually extinct in Europe. The key to success among competitors seems to be IMSA's ability to package their series, which many agree seems to be headed in the right direction.
The key to it is numbers and close competition. And if they can fill those seats with recognizable names, they're going to have some close racing. It's going to be great. If they've addressed the problem of trying to keep the cost down and the technology within the confines of the normal racer, rather than have it dictated by big factory teams. And I think that that's a good move. And now people have to be patient. They can't really expect too much of this in its first year.
Well, I'm not quite sure that, personally, that they should have done made some of the rules that they have made. On the other hand, I've always said that if you have 2 or more cars, at least 2, that are competitive, not out of reach financially for the majority of the people that wish to go racing, you're going to have a great series.
The enthusiasm out in the car building community where I live, I'm a car manufacturer, is very high. I think as soon as the schedule gets out, you're going to see guys committing for Daytona. I think we'll probably have 10 cars at Daytona. By Sebring, we'll have 15. By the first sprint race, we'll have 17 to 20 cars.
The big debate seems to be whether these cars will prove more economical.
Quite honestly, these cars are not going to be that much cheaper than the GTP cars. Our current Lights car had a cost of about, with spares, somewhere around $260,000. The current World Sports Car coming from Spice has a price tag of $273,000. So I don't see a savings there at all.
Economy-wise, we have to be very careful about how it's costed to keep the cost down, to get the privateers in there. And of course, I think if there are factory-backed outfits, then I think it'll be good. I wouldn't like to see the day we have factory teams in there producing world sports cars, because we'll end up with the same situation we just had with GTP.
One manufacturer that IMSA will give particular welcome to in 1994 is Ferrari, who will field sports cars in competition for the first time in 20 years. This alone should give the World Sports Car format instant credibility and fan loyalty.
We like very much IMSA new program, the World Sports Car Series, because it gives to our customers the opportunity to participate in an affordable series that at the same time features the most exciting and certainly the most beautiful cars that one can see today in racing.
Well, all of us, particularly in our case where we'll be running a domestic engine, we're going to enjoy beating the Ferraris.
There will also be new glamour behind the wheel in 1994. TV sitcom star Craig T. Nelson has announced he will field a team in the new series.
It was a series that still invited a privateer to racing, and albeit it's expensive, but at the same time, if you go out and do it, this was a series that seemed affordable to me, and one that was highly competitive. And the drivers I've met and the drivers that I already know and some I've tested with, I just felt that this was a group I wanted to get involved with.
There will be much that is new in IMSA 1994, including a new generation of driving stars.
WC may need, at least for the first year, the drivers that have been known to come back. But having said all that, guys short of Jeff Brabham and maybe Juan, none of us are really well known because it was always the automobile that was the car. The Nissans, the Toyotas, the Jaguars, the Porsches. It was never the driver, so I'm not so sure that that would hold water ultimately.
I certainly would love to drive it. I think I'm hoping that the people that are going to field these cars are going to find it important to fill the seats with recognizable names. So old guys like myself and Derek Bell and a few others, Bob Wallach, will have something to do, because in reality, I think the key to whether this is going to be successful or not is going to depend on how many well-known names support this kind of racing.
The Exxon Supreme GTS Series opened at America's longest and toughest race, the Rolex 24 at Daytona. Nissan and Oldsmobile set out with a mighty task to upset Ford, which had not lost at Daytona since 1984. Paul Gentilozzi started off by shaving more than 3 seconds from the qualifying track record. And, teamed with the able services of Darren Brassfield, the pair produced a pure Oldsmobile front row. But Rocket Sports' hopes of victory concluded just after 9 p.m. Saturday night, when both cars officially retired, leaving Clayton Cunningham's Nissans to pursue the Fords. Come mid-morning Sunday, the Roush-prepared Ford Mustang Cobras were poised for victory when defending series champion Steve Millen pitted with turbo problems. Tom Kendall, Wally Dallenbach, Robbie Buell, and Robbie Gordon earned Ford its 9th straight 24-hour victory. The impressive second and third place overall finishes put lead driver Tom Kendall ahead of the field in points. Steve Millen, Johnny O'Connell, and John Morton finished third in class and fourth overall. With Miami hosting round 2, Steve Millen earned his 19th Exxon GTS pole, breaking his own track record set the year before. The self-professed street racing aficionado edged out Paul Gentilozzi for starting position by a mere 3.5 hundredths of a second. Minutes into the 1-hour race, however, Tommy Riggins slammed into the barrier at turn 2, bringing out a red flag to repair the badly damaged catch fence and barriers. When the green waved 1 hour later, Millen took the early lead, battling not only the boys in black, but a bad case of the flu as well. But Gentilozzi outbraked the defending champion for position, then was himself passed by teammate Darren Brassfield. Brassfield's chances at victory evaporated when he made contact with slower traffic, allowing Gentilozzi to recapture the lead and the ultimate victory. Steve Millen finished second, closing the Exxon GTS championship gap to 1 point behind Ford's Tom Kendall. Sebring saw Brassfield rocket to the pole position, shattering the division track record by more than 4 seconds. Steve Millen qualified second, followed by Nissan teammate Johnny O'Connell in third. Rocket Sports was eager to defend their 1992 Sebring GTS win, but just 13 minutes into the 12-hour race, Dorsey Schrader got sideways, collecting Tom Kendall, who had qualified fourth. Kendall was forced to the pits with persistent bodywork problems. Brassfield relinquished the early lead in the pits for brake light service. Then, arguably, the world's most difficult race added yet another dimension when the sky opened up and nature added blinding rain, fog, and near zero visibility. For the first time in Sebring's 41-year history, the red flag was displayed for monsoon-like weather better suited for fishing than racing. At the 1 hour and 15-minute mark, the number 1 Nissan had emerged on top and stayed there. Steve Millen, Johnny O'Connell, and John Morton earned Nissan its first Exxon Supreme GTS Endurance victory, marking Nissan's 100th win in IMSA GT competition as well. Millen shared his 14th career Exxon GT win with first-time GTS winner Johnny O'Connell, and the pair moved up to pass Tom Kendall in the championship points battle. Kendall and John Fergus finished second, followed by the Rocket Sports Oldsmobiles in third and fourth. Roush Racing's newly designed Ford Mustang Cobra debuted at Mid-Ohio, and Tom Kendall earned his first Exxon GTS pole, followed by Brassfield and Gentilozzi. Less than 1 second separated the top 3 qualifiers, with Millen and O'Connell in fourth and fifth. When the green flag waved, Darren Brassfield relentlessly pursued the 5-time national champion, with the battle at times side by side. Millen rolled the dice in the pits, changing tires just before the halfway mark under yellow. But Steve's plans did not pay off, and what looked like victory for Kendall was then preempted when Brassfield tagged Kendall's back bumper when the two encountered slower traffic on the Mid-Ohio front straight. Brassfield took over the lead, and Gentilozzi passed Kendall for second. Oldsmobile's 1-2 result was temporarily disallowed, however, but later, the Oldsmobile's first ever Exxon GTS 1-2 result was restored, with Tom Kendall finishing third, producing an Exxon GTS Drivers' Championship points tie between Steve Millen and Tom Kendall. Fans at the high-speed circuit at Watkins Glen saw Johnny O'Connell earn his inaugural Exxon GTS pole, followed by teammate Steve Millen and Tom Kendall in third. Now scheduled to run with the Camel GT division, the Exxon Series competitors predicted traffic problems for the semi-endurance event. Darren Brassfield took the early lead and, quite simply put, drove away. Paul Gentilosi's day was over in less than 1 hour when gear problems resulted in an off-course excursion into the guardrail at turn 7. But just after the 1 hour mark, Nissan's championship hopes would take a drastic turn. Nissan teammates Steve Millen and Johnny O'Connell were running second and third when catastrophe struck. Millen and Brent O'Neill were stopped on course when O'Connell entered the high-speed, blind left-hander at the S's. He did not have time to react and crashed heavily into Millen. IMSA brought out the red flag for more than 50 minutes while Millen was extracted, then airlifted to Arnaud Ogden Medical Center in Elmira, New York. Steve suffered multiple injuries while O'Connell was treated and released. Darren Brassfield dominated the Exxon GTS division, making just one scheduled pit stop to score his second victory of the season. Tom Kendall finished second, 1 lap down, reclaiming the Exxon Supreme GTS Drivers' Championship points lead. The 6th round opened with former three-peater Steve Millen on injured reserve. Clayton Cunningham's Nissan 300ZX team logged 2,100 man-hours in just 6 days, handing Johnny O'Connell a car complete with Millen's number and the national symbol, the Kiwi bird. Paul Gentilosi, intent to defend his 1992 Exxon GTS Road America victory, opted to deploy an arsenal of Oldsmobiles. With Brassfield tentative, Scott Pruitt was added to the lineup. Despite a bout with food poisoning and a ruptured disc, Darren Brassfield captured the pole, followed by Kendall, with Pruitt in third. When the green flag waved, 3 Oldsmobiles settled into the top position, followed by Kendall on the pace in fourth. Minutes into the race, however, Johnny O'Connell was forced to the pits with turbo problems. Then Brassfield retired his car just past the 2-hour mark, while Pruitt held the GTS lead. With 6 minutes remaining, Gentilosi passed Pruitt and held on to score his second straight Road America victory. Tom Kendall brought the Ford Mustang Cobra home third. Tom Kendall entered round 7 at Laguna Seca with a healthy 20-point margin over Johnny O'Connell, then earned his second Exxon GTS pole position. On lap 1 of the 50-minute sprint race, Kendall held the early lead while Scott Pruitt passed Johnny O'Connell for second. But minutes later, Pruitt was forced to the pits with water pump belt troubles while Kendall continued to lead. Stopwatches showed Johnny O'Connell closing the gap on Kendall, with the Nissan driver moving up to challenge Kendall for the lead. And with just 5 minutes remaining, O'Connell gave himself a 31st birthday present with a textbook pass on Kendall. He would take the win in front of a live television audience. Kendall finished second, holding the points lead, proving that consistency is a key ingredient to any championship bid. It was O'Connell's first ever Exxon GTS solo victory and a great comeback moment for Cunningham Racing and Nissan. The next week at Portland, Tom Kendall set a new track record, earning his 3rd pole position of the season. Darren Brassfield, the defending Portland champion, joined Kendall outside row 1. Tom held the lead early until 4 minutes into the race. Both Darren Brassfield and Scott Pruitt forged past Kendall to overtake the Ford in the festival curves. Then, Johnny O'Connell pushed past Kendall with less than 4 minutes remaining to snatch 3rd place. Brassfield answered the call for Oldsmobile, scoring his 3rd victory of the season. Oldsmobile's 1-2 finish for the 3rd time clinched the all-important Manufacturers' Championship for Oldsmobile. But the Exxon Supreme GT driver's title would go down to the wire. Entering Phoenix, O'Connell's mathematical hopes were still alive, despite Kendall's 13-point advantage, while Brassfield, considered the long shot, left Portland trailing Kendall by 19 points. Johnny O'Connell earned his second Exxon GTS pole at the season ender at Phoenix International Raceway and held on for the first 5 minutes of the race until Darren Brassfield passed the hometown favorite to take the lead. But just past the halfway point, Brassfield encountered traffic, and O'Connell passed the Oldsmobile on the banking. But O'Connell's lead was short-lived when he made contact with slower traffic during the late afternoon sun. It allowed Brassfield to recapture the lead and the ultimate victory. But Brassfield's and O'Connell's first and second place finishes were not enough to upset Tom Kendall, whose third place finish clinched the Exxon Supreme GTS Drivers' Championship title. There can be little question about Tom Kendall's abilities in professional racing. In a pro career spanning 9 years, Kendall has earned an amazing 6 national championships. During 1993, he garnered 100% of top 5 finishes with an incredible 75% top 3 finishing average. In one of the most competitive IMSA Exxon Supreme GTS seasons ever, Kendall was without a doubt the benchmark of consistency. On behalf of Exxon Company USA, we salute Tom Kendall, the 1993 Exxon Supreme GTS champion. Nissan's Butch Leitzinger earned his first pole of the Exxon GTU season at Daytona. Sharing driving duties with his father Bob and brother Chuck, the Leitzinger family team led the first 10 hours, with 2-time Daytona winner Dick Greer holding steady in second. But shortly after 1 a.m., Butch Leitzinger pulled in the pits for what would be the first of several non-scheduled stops. The Wendy-sponsored Mazda RX-7 of Dick Greer, Mike Mees, Al Bacon, and Peter Urea took over the lead and held on to score their 3rd consecutive Exxon GTU Daytona title. Leitzinger Racing finished 3rd, 95 laps behind the winning Mazda. At Miami, it was the fast-color Nissan indeed when Butch Leitzinger earned his 2nd straight pole, setting a new course record. 24-year-old Bill Auberland started 2nd, followed by Bob Leitzinger in 3rd. Butch took the early lead and outdistanced the competition to score his first victory of the season. Auberland finished 2nd, with Eduardo Dibos bringing his Mazda in 3rd. The Nissan victory moved Butch into the Exxon GTU championship lead. At the next round at Sebring, Butch's championship bid was put on hold when he was sidelined with a broken kneecap, the result of a non-racing mishap. Father Bob enlisted the services of veteran Don Knowles, who put the number 95 Nissan 240SX on the pole for the classic 12-hour event. The pair were leading at the 2-hour mark when overheating problems forced Knowles to the pits, allowing Dick Greer's Daytona winning team to take over the lead just before the red flag came out for a deluge that refused to let up. 9.5 hours into the race, Knowles caught up and passed the leading Mazda, but their advantage was short-lived when the Nissan suffered another bout of overheating. Greer's Mazda team scored their 2nd endurance victory of the season, while the Leitzinger team finished 5th. Round 4 at Mid-Ohio saw newcomer Eduardo Pellerano score his maiden Exxon GTU pole. Butch Leitzinger was back in action, qualifying 3rd, with Father Bob starting 2nd. Pellerano's chances at victory abruptly ended, however, with a fuel-related problem when the green flag was waved. Butch Leitzinger led every lap of the 1-hour race, earning Nissan its first Exxon GTU Mid-Ohio victory since 1982. Bob Leitzinger finished 2nd, followed by Henry Campherdam, 1 lap down in 3rd. Butch Leitzinger collected yet another pole at Watkins Glen, edging out Californian Bill Auberland. Leitzinger's pit strategy earned him his first ever Watkins Glen victory, while Auberland drove his Mazda RX-7 to a solid 2nd place finish. Bob Leitzinger ended up 3rd. The win at Watkins Glen gave Butch Leitzinger a 9-point advantage over endurance maestro Dick Greer, entering Road America in early July. But it was Bill Auberland who captured his first pole of the season, followed by Pellerano in 2nd. Butch Leitzinger qualified 3rd, but encountered a broken half shaft that put his Nissan off course and out of the race before the field reached the green flag. Excellent team strategy protected Leitzinger's hopes of scoring points when the 97 Nissan was towed back in behind the start-finish line. Butch earned valuable points, sharing the number 95 Nissan with his father Bob. Meanwhile, Bill Auberland led every lap, staving off Pellerano's Mazda for the first hour. When Pellerano retired his Mazda just past the 1-hour mark, Auberland drove to his first ever Exxon GTU victory, while the Leitzingers rallied back to finish 2nd. At Laguna Seca in Monterey, Bill Auberlen upset his nemesis once again, earning his second consecutive pole of the season. But on lap 1, Leitzinger passed Auberlen and led every lap, collecting his 4th victory of the season. Auberlen held on for second, followed by Bob Leitzinger in third. The next to last round at Portland International Raceway produced another furious qualifying battle between Leitzinger and Auberlen. The Nissan driver started from the pole, then led every lap, earning his 9th IMSA GTU career victory. The win clinched Butch Leitzinger's first Exxon GTU Drivers' Championship, still with one race to go. Butch Leitzinger entered Phoenix intent to defend the Manufacturers' Championship for Nissan, and he captured the last pole of the 1993 Exxon GTU season. Butch led every lap of the one-hour race to earn his 5th victory of the season. In fact, Eduardo Dibos was the only other car on the lead lap at the end of the one-hour event. Butch Leitzinger's victory earned Nissan the all-important Exxon GTU Manufacturers' Championship title. Named Most Improved Driver in 1992, Butch Leitzinger has proved his talents behind the wheel of a race car. He earned more poles and won more races than any other Exxon GTU competitor. On behalf of Exxon Company USA, congratulations, Butch, on a tremendous championship year in Exxon GTU competition. IMSA's Exxon Supreme GTO Series opened along the downtown streets of Miami, with Floridian Wayne Akers taking the first pole of the season and setting a new track record. Les Lindley qualified second, driving a Ford for the first time since 1979. Akers maintained his lead at the race start, then increased it when the race was restarted after an early red flag was shown. But Lindley inherited the lead when Akers was forced into a runoff area, avoiding faster traffic. The affable Californian's 3rd career Exxon GTO victory moved him into the early points lead, followed by Joe Loggett in the runner-up spot. Charles Morgan debuted at Mid-Ohio, making his presence known in the GTO Series, earning the fast qualifier time in his new Oldsmobile Cutlass. Les Lindley started second, but his chance to pursue Morgan ended when an oil line failed, causing an unexpected trip to the pits for repairs. Morgan led every lap, scoring his first win in as many attempts. Ken Buff finished second, while Joe Loggett's 3rd place moved him into the Exxon GTO Championship lead 27-23 over Ken Buff. The IMSA Exxon GTO Series moved north to Watkins Glen for round 3, and Mike Zemicki earned his first career pole. But during the race, Les Lindley took control, handing over the lead to Oldsmobile's Brian DeVries during a round of pit stops. Lindley, a new second-time grandfather, also became the series' first double winner of 1993, driving his Power Bar Ford Mustang to victory. A satisfied Brian DeVries came in second, his best finish in professional racing. Lindley reclaimed the Exxon GTO Championship lead at Watkins Glen. The handlebar gentleman from California captured his first pole of the season along Road America's sweeping 4-mile circuit. But 45 minutes into the race, Lindley's Ford dropped a valve while leading, and he called it a day. Charles Morgan moved up from second to first, then earned his second victory in just 3 attempts. Joe Pezza finished second, followed by Loggett in third. The championship changed hands for the 4th time, and Charles Morgan moved up to take the points lead. Les Lindley stayed on top for qualifying at Laguna Seca, earning his 2nd straight pole. Lindley was leading when yet again misfortune would strike. He pitted when a tire went down with just 10 minutes remaining. Morgan again was there to capitalize, taking top honors and increasing his lead over Lindley by 22 points. DeVries brought his Oldsmobile home second, while Lindley rallied back to finish third. Morgan entered Portland with a bid to close the Drivers' Championship with a healthy 22-point advantage over Les Lindley. But Portland saw a brand new pole sitter when Brian DeVries surprised perhaps even himself on a track where qualifying position can be critical. Lindley moved up to lead and stayed there until he and Brian DeVries came together with just 10 minutes remaining. DeVries' chance of winning was over when he went off at turn 4, giving Joe Pezza a sure shot at a first season win. Charles Morgan's third-place finish earned him the Exxon GTO Championship title with still one race remaining. Charles Morgan is a seasoned professional. The 13-year IMSA veteran missed the first race of the season and still clinched the championship with one race to go. Exxon Company USA honors Charles Morgan, the 1993 IMSA Exxon Supreme GTO champion.
IMSA's 3-year-old Bridgestone Supercar Series opened along Miami's downtown streets. Hans Stuck earned the first pole of the season, but his chance at victory ended on lap 1 when he lost control of the Brumos Porsche. Stuck careened off the wall and into the path of Nick Ham, who had qualified second. Doc Bundy took control and earned Lotus the first victory of the season. Lotus teammates Andy Pilgrim and David Murray finished second and third, producing a pure Lotus victory lane. A new qualifying procedure was instituted for 1993. A lottery of sorts. The new system could invert the first through fourth rows on the grid, or none at all.
The guy who sets the pole position has to draw a ball out of the back, which there are different colors. It's show business, you know.
Atlanta Motor Speedway would be no kinder to Hans Stuck than Miami. Stuck spun the Brumos Porsche at the halfway mark, losing valuable time. David Murray scored his first ever supercar victory in front of a hometown crowd. Doc Bundy crossed the finish line second, followed by 1991 champion Hurley Haywood in third. Hans Stuck rallied back to finish fourth. Stuck entered round 3 at Lime Rock Park 8th in points. He left Connecticut 4th in the standings, earning his first victory of the 1993 season. At Watkins Glen, Stuck and teammate Hurley Haywood started from the 4th row. The pair carved their way through traffic to take over the lead, with Haywood out front. When Haywood's Porsche suffered brake trouble, Stuck earned his second consecutive victory, taking over the Bridgestone Supercar Championship points lead. Stuck collected another victory at Cleveland. Then at Laguna Seca, Hans Stuck qualified on the pole, but was inverted to 6th on the grid. Incredibly, he moved up from 6th to lead on lap number 1. Laguna Seca marked the 4th straight victory for the colorful German. The Portland race produced the most lead changes in supercar history, 6 among 3 different competitors. Sean Hendricks took the early lead in his Nissan 300ZX, but Hendricks encountered problems, giving way to Hans Stuck. Then fellow Porsche driver Nick Ham challenged Stuck for the lead, passing him. Stuck and Ham exchanged the lead 3 more times, with Stuck finishing on top. Hans Stuck earned yet another victory at Phoenix, and another at the season-ending Sebring event, earning his first Bridgestone Supercar Championship. Stuck's 7-race winning streak helped earn a 3rd consecutive manufacturer championship for Porsche. In IMSA's highly successful Firestone Firehawk Touring Class Series, John Green's championship was a pleasant surprise. Green and teammate Norris Rancourt were on a roll, finishing 1st or 2nd in every outing. Green clinched his first championship title at the season finale at Sebring, Florida. Once again, Honda prevailed in the Manufacturers' Championship for the 4th straight year. After 5 years and 3 runner-up finishes, Peter Schwartzat earned the Sports Class Championship, campaigning a Honda Prelude VTEC. At age 54, Schwartzat became the oldest driver to win a Firehawk driving title. Schwartzat's batting average, winning more than 30% of all races entered, is higher than any other Firehawk driver with 50 or more starts. Schwartzat closed the championship at Sebring, edging out Joe Danaher. In Firestone Grand Sports, Doug Goad, who has been driving in the Firehawk Series since 1985, won his first championship after 75 starts. His Jake's Team Pontiac co-driver, Larry Schumacher, finished runner-up in the championship, 1 point behind Goad. Schumacher earned Firestone's Rising Star Award. The Goad-Schumacher pairing shared victories at Indianapolis Raceway Park, Atlanta, Road America, and Laguna Seca. IMSA's 1994 season opens with the debut of the Exxon World Sports Car Championship at the Rolex 24 at Daytona International Speedway in early February.